During this video, we're going to be covering the following four things: Federalists, Anti-Federalists, the actual formation of the Bill of Rights, and then we're going to be talking very briefly about the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. As the Founding Fathers were debating the Constitution, you had two groups arise. You had the Federalists and then you had the Anti-Federalists. So the Federalists were the men who supported the Constitution, who wanted a strong federal government and weaker state governments, and who believed that there was a need for an executive branch, a president. On the flip side, the Anti-Federalists opposed the Constitution. They thought the federal government was too strong and the states were too weak, so that the balance of power was lopsided, and they thought the president had too much power. They didn't want the president to become another king, and they didn't want to see like a monarchy or a tyrant take over again, so they opposed the Constitution. Now, Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence, was actually not present during the Constitutional Convention. He was in France serving as an ambassador. But he believed that in order for the Constitution to pass, a Bill of Rights also needed to be added onto the Constitution. Another important figure that we haven't talked a lot about is Alexander Hamilton. Now, Alexander Hamilton was actually against the Bill of Rights because he said that the state constitutions would protect what we now have in the Bill of Rights. So don't leave it up to the federal government to say what rights are protected. Leave it up to the state governments. So he was against the Bill of Rights, while on the flip side, Thomas Jefferson supported the Bill of Rights. Now, the way that amendment gets added into the Constitution is if 3/4 of the state's legislatures actually approve the amendment. So 3/4 of New Jersey's state legislature needs to approve the amendment, and then the amendment gets added into the Constitution. When it started to appear that the Constitution was not going to pass because of the lack of the Bill of Rights, James Madison, the father of the Constitution, takes it upon himself to write the first 10 amendments in 1791, and as we know, those first 10 amendments are known as the Bill of Rights. And here is a picture of the first page of the Constitution. The Constitution is at the Museum of the National Archives in Washington, D.C. So really briefly, we're going to just kind of go through the Bill of Rights again. I know we've been talking about this in class, but Amendment 1, you have freedom of speech. You also have freedom of religion that's protected in the First Amendment. Freedom of the press, the right to criticize anyone basically through the written word. Freedom of assembly, so like this poster over here for the KKK. And then the last part of the First Amendment is the right to petition. So you're telling the government what your issues or what your grievances are. The Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms. The Third Amendment protects you against quartering soldiers. The Fourth Amendment is from unreasonable searches and seizures. So that's when we're talking about like the warrants. The Fifth Amendment has a few different parts. One of the parts is that it protects you from self-incrimination. So like I plead the Fifth, where you don't have to say anything that's going to incriminate you of a crime. The Fifth Amendment also protects you from double jeopardy. You cannot be tried for the same crime twice. It also requires that you are given fair compensation if the government needs to take your land for whatever reason. During a trial, you must be indicted by a grand jury. And then the Sixth Amendment gives you the right to a speedy trial by jury. So you're not going to spend 10 years in prison waiting to get an actual trial. It needs to occur quickly. You will also have the right to an attorney even if you cannot afford one. You have the right to a trial by jury in civil cases. And civil cases is basically when you sue someone. So it's you and another civilian, another person, not you and the government. You're protected from cruel or unusual punishments in the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment also protects you from excessive bail or fines. The Ninth Amendment, which is an amendment that we haven't really talked about, says that even if the rights are not specifically mentioned in the Constitution, it does not mean that they are denied to people. So just because it doesn't say it specifically doesn't mean that people don't have it. And then again, another amendment that we haven't really discussed is the final amendment of the Bill of Rights, the 10th Amendment, which says that any power that the federal government doesn't have is left up to the states to decide. So these are the Bill of Rights, and we will watch those 2 videos down at the bottom tomorrow. So you have all the information necessary now for your quiz tomorrow. Make sure you know who the Federalists are and who the Anti-Federalists are, why they believe that the Bill of Rights was necessary in order to pass a constitution, and then finally, what are the Bill of Rights? Make sure that you know your 1 through 10, at least the main ideas within them. I know that several amendments have multiple parts, but we've been talking about this for a while now, so make sure that you guys study. Make sure you also answer your blog, and I will see you guys tomorrow in class. Study for your quiz.